And I'm literally laying in the bed, swinging at the air, saying, come on, I'm ready to fight, I'm ready to fight, I'm done with this. They were demons, and they kept coming down, and I'm literally laying in the bed, swinging at the air, saying, come on, I'm ready to fight, I'm ready to fight, I'm done with this. And at that moment, I fell asleep, out cold. And so the next morning I woke up, and I never, at that moment, I never really said a prayer. I never really said, okay, God, I understand now, this is what it's supposed to be. Because I still didn't quite understand the relationship aspect. But that morning I got up, I began writing letters to people who owed me money, to people who I've hurt, relationships I'd ruined, and I just started writing all these letters asking for forgiveness. And so that process began, and then over the next few days of getting into Teen Challenge and having an opportunity to say that prayer and give my life to the Lord, it was just really an eye-opening experience for me.
So what are the three main things that you would tell someone who's in that predicament now, who wants to get out of an addictive lifestyle, but do not or cannot find the strength to do that?
Yeah, there's a couple things. Number one, a person has to understand they have a problem, and they have to want to do something about it. Since 1995 and going into Teen Challenge, I've done addiction recovery ministry for 21 years, now more singularly focused on doing one-on-one counseling and stuff like that, but I've run addiction recovery groups. I've been a part of faith-based in-house programming. And I think the first thing is they have to understand there's a problem. The second thing, obviously, is they have to do something about it, and the third thing is how do you do something about it? So putting themselves in a position where they have good accountability, where they have changed some things in their life where those things aren't as readily available anymore, and changing the people. So people, places, and things. There's places you can't go. There's people you can't hang out with. There's situations that you can no longer put yourself in. Now, whether that's a person dealing with an addiction to heroin or marijuana or alcohol or any of those things, or it's a person dealing with depression and anxiety and fear, there's just certain things that God has established in His Word for us to begin to understand that if we take some of those principles and apply them to our lives are going to change dramatically.
Absolutely. So once you had that experience with the demonic forces, do you think that awakened you to the point where I'm determined that I'm not going back to what I used to do? And well, I'll let you answer that. And I have so many questions going on in my head. But.
Yeah, I think for me it wasn't necessarily understanding the spiritual aspect, because I think I understood the spiritual aspect for a long time. I just chose
another path
to be a different kind of person. Like if you came up to me on the street when I was 18, 19 years old, 20 years old, and you tried to witness to me, I would either physically assault you or threaten to assault you if you didn't leave me alone, because it was just part of me that was like, that is not me. That has never worked for me. I don't see how it works for other people. And it came to a point when I had that spiritual experience that it was me understanding that those forces that were working against my life before were something that I didn't want to be a part of anymore. So it just came time to surrender. And that's where the grace comes in. And then I spent a lot of years as a Christian trying to live on a level of perfection and trying to be somebody I wasn't. Because when we come to a relationship with Christ, that relationship with Christ doesn't transform the character and the nature of who we are, so to speak. The character and the nature of who we are transforms more into God's character and nature as we sanctify ourselves through reading the Word and praying and getting into that right relationship with Him. But who I am as a person doesn't really change. The things that I like to do, the people that I love, don't necessarily change, but what changes is my nature. So if my nature was against God, which it was for a long time, and hate and anger and all of those things fueled my fire, well, now what fuels my fire is helping people. What fuels my fire is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, which is God's nature.
Absolutely.
And it becomes alive within us.
Absolutely. So you changed the way that you saw life. Not you as a person, but there's different setups that the Lord has us in. And once we get to that awakening point or that breaking point, we can then see the glass shatter and go in the direction that He has always intended us to go into. But what I've learned is that even through our trials and mistakes and the paths that we decide, we are then able to witness and share our life story with someone else that may find themselves in a predicament that we were once in. And one thing that did come to mind is that your upbringing wasn't the best, but you still have those glimpses of light through your grandparents to see what needs to change and what it should be. And I'm concerned at times because I feel that sometimes people do not have that example to look at and see that there's a difference. And so in the 21 years that you've shared your story with other people, what changes have you seen? What different awakening moments have you seen from other people?
Lots of them. You know, opportunities for people just to come to a realization of how broken they really are. You know, as humans, we have this innate ability to just keep going. You know, you watch that show Hoarders, and you see somebody who comes into, you walk into a room and there's literally just enough space for somebody to walk through, and it's stacked floor to ceiling with stuff that doesn't really have any value. And so you look at that and you say, well, how could a person get to a point where that is okay every day? And so you look at a person who's been struggling with addiction, and you know, they get clean for 2 months, and they go to this 60-day program and they get clean, and they go over here and they do something else, and then they go back, and they just keep perpetuating this vicious cycle. And you're like, well, how could a person think that that's okay? But it's because they've conditioned themselves to think that it's okay, you know? So we have to help people recondition the way they think, the way they see, the way they live and breathe inside a relationship with God. And when that begins to happen and they begin to see that, oh wow, this is a path that I don't need to be on anymore, those moments are moments that really, you know, just kind of the light goes on and you see people get it, and they're no longer worried about them and their health and their sobriety, but their sobriety and their faith has come to a point where now they're helping other people, where they're outside of themselves doing other things.
Absolutely. The light is on. Isn't that the way that the Lord does us every time? His love draws us near every time, because if we think about just His love book, the Bible, and we see so many people that He's used, and no one had it together, but yet He still used us. And so as we continue to walk this journey, and all of these different things are plucked away or falling by, and we have a change of perspective, our mind is renewed, and now we are the pure creatures that we are today. Oh boy, there's still so many questions in my mind, but if I could ask you, if you could just take this time just to look into this camera and share your, just share something that will inspire someone that, again, that may be on this road of recovery. And sometimes I'm sure it gets hard, but just to keep on going, just to take a moment, just to continue to keep striving and encourage them.
You know, I think one of the biggest things that I've learned in my walk with God and with helping other people is understanding that He's given us tools. So when you open up His Word is not just encouragement. His Word is not just truth that can't be refuted. His Word is a toolbox, an advantage for you to be able to take some of those things and put them into your life. So one of the main things that I teach people through my counseling and through other things is that 2 Corinthians 10:3-5 says that the weapons that we fight with are not carnal, but they're mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds. Therefore, we take every thought captive to the obedience of Christ. We demolish every argument and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God. And in our lives, our brains take over. We think about things way too much. We think about conversations before we have them. We try to come up with the perfect answer to the perfect scenario so that the question that we ask gets answered the way that we want it. And so there's so much thought that goes into that, and so many of those thoughts and pretenses are about us and about negativity and fear and anxiety. So what I tell people is, if every single thought that you have is taken captive to the obedience of Christ, and you demolish every argument and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God, can you be depressed? Can you be anxious? Can you be fearful? Can things that are going on in your world and your circumstances surrounding you affect the way that you feel inside, because you understand a truth that we win, that God has made you more than a conqueror, that God wants you to be strong and successful, and He's made a way for you to do that, but you have to take every thought captive.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I forgot I was sitting here for a moment. I was twirling around in my head, but then I came back to where I am. So I just want to thank you again for coming on the show. I'm so honored to have you sit in this chair, for me to be able to ask you these questions. And I know that so many people will be delivered from your testimony. Looking at you now, and we didn't have a chance to go into the different accidents and all of those things, because I know that will defeat some people, but you continue to keep walking and keep striving, and still has a sense of humor, and you're just the light. You're the light that the Lord has called you to be, and that's what it's about. We keep striving. We are not defeated, so we can never succumb to a defeated mindset.
That's right.
People, thank you for tuning into Alabaster's Box. Find Travis on Facebook. Connect with him. If you need counseling, he's available to counsel you. Travis Knapp, find him if you need someone to talk to, someone to relate to, and if you need someone to just encourage you out of your stuff. There is a way, because God always provides it. Thank you for tuning into Alabaster's Box, where we are inspiring and enriching thoughts.
What a great time being here with Tiffany and Alabaster's Box, just having an opportunity to share some of the things that have impacted me, and hopefully they'll impact your life and help you to change. Tiffany's doing an amazing job here, trying to get the Word of God out and trying to help people understand that there's more to life than some of the things that drag you down. So tune into Alabaster's Box and see what's happening next.
Hey everyone, I hope you guys are enjoying what you are hearing thus far. Please tell your friends about us, tell your church members and your family members. Let's take this word to the world. Please share, subscribe, and like. And remember, if you change your thoughts, you change your life. Thank you.